Hello and welcome everyone to yet another tech enthusiastic video from Edureka. Today, we will go through the right learning path for Python programming language. But before we begin, please subscribe to Edureka's YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to never miss an update on the trending technologies in the current IT industry. Also, if you're looking for an online Python training and certification program, then I have dropped down the link in the description box below. I hope you go through it. Now, without wasting much time, let's quickly begin by going through the agenda for today's discussion. We shall begin with a little understanding of Python by going through the introduction to Python. Here, we will understand about the pioneers who invented it, and followed by that, the groundbreaking projects that are built using Python programming language, and also, we will understand the powerful features of Python that give it an edge over the other programming languages. Followed by the introduction to Python, we will enter into the core topic for today's discussion, that is the learning path for Python. We shall understand it by going through the following steps. First one, how to start. Followed by learning how to start, we shall enter into the building blocks of Python, that is the major areas where we need to focus. Next to it, we will understand the Python modules later, inputs and outputs in Python. Next to it, we will understand the errors and exceptions. Followed by that, we have Python object-oriented programming style. Next to the Python OOPS, we have Python libraries. And finally, Python implementation using projects. So I hope I made myself clear with the agenda. Now, let us begin with our first topic, which is Introduction to Python. Python was developed by Judo van Rossum. Its implementation began in the year 1989, and Python was named after the TV series, which is Monty Python's Flying Circus. It is the successor of ABC language and was capable of exception handling as well as interfacing with Amoeba operating system. Python was led by Judo van Rossum for 30 years, that is, until 12th of July 2018. As of now, the leadership of Python is shared by 5-member bench, namely Barry Wassop, Brett Cannon, Carol Willing, Judo van Rossum, Nick Cohen. The release of Python 2.0 was done on October 16, 2000, and Python 3 was released in the year 3rd December 2008. However, Python 2.7 support has ended in the 1st of January of 2020. The date was actually scheduled 5 years earlier, but it was postponed in order to provide ease in conversion of projects built on top of 2.7 to Python 3. The latest version of Python is Python 3.8 and is released in the year 2019, 14th of October. Now, let us discuss some of the major projects that are built by using this outstanding programming language. The first one in our docket is the Google. Yes, the world's most famous search engine is driven by Python. Python is one of the most important languages at Google. Not just the Google search engine, but Google developers of YouTube also rely heavily on Python because Python is used in almost every bit of YouTube. The next one is the Dropbox. Dropbox, as many of us know, is a file hosting service that allows file storage, synchronization, cloud, etc. This award-winning application runs on Python in its backend. Followed by Dropbox, we have Quora. This website has answers to all your questions, and the developers of Quora actually rely on Python. Next is the very famous application that is now or almost all a day-to-day routine, the Instagram. You heard me right, Instagram is developed using Python. There might be hardly anyone who is unaware of this application. Instagram allows you to post your favorite pictures and videos on social media platform with the help of Python. Lastly, we have the BitTorrent. BitTorrent is an ocean of databases and contents, but the foundation of this website is built on Python. Moving ahead, we will now understand the major features of Python programming language. Python has a huge set of incredible features. First one is Python is an interpreted language, meaning the instructions are executed directly without being compiled previously. Next, it is very much readable and understandable. Followed by that, Python is a platform independent programming language, which means the code written once can be executed on any of the platforms with minimum or no changes. Moving ahead, Python can be treated as a structural language, scripting language, object oriented programming language, or a modular language. Next, we have its best in class integration capability. Python can be integrated with languages such as Java, C, C++, and many more. Lastly, it is free and open source language. Now, we shall get into our major topic for today's discussion, that is how to start learning Python. Now, we shall deal with this one step at a time. The first step is schedule timetable for yourself. The most important thing that you must value is your time. Give some time from your complete day to learn Python. Make it your regular daily routine. If you're irregular, it's natural that you will not remember the concept that you read in the previous session. The second stage is take one step at a time. Remember that it is very important for you to not move ahead if you do not understand, even if it is a single word. If you let go of something now, it is going to pile up later, and after a while, you will start feeling programming is very difficult. Next, practice what you went through. Here is where you will understand how your code works, where you are making mistakes. It doesn't matter if it's the simplest Hello World program, but write it on both paper and on your execution platforms. Indeed, practice does make you perfect. Followed by that, concentrate on the syntax. For every programming language, the most important thing you must learn is its syntax. All languages have their own set of rules and regulations, so make sure you learn them correctly. Followed by that, we have the understanding of basics. Clearly understand the basic concepts that you are going to encounter every now and then. Some of them are literals, tokens, operators and operands, identifiers, variables, constants, and many more. Next stage is writing small programs. Take up more programs and try to find out a solution to them by yourself. Initially, take up programs that will just make you familiar with the programming language syntax. And later, you can move on towards more complex programs. Now that we have a briefing on how to start, let us move ahead and understand where to focus. Once you have understood the basics, you can move towards deeper concepts. Some of the important ones are functions, loops, conditional statements, data structures, and algorithms. Don't worry, we'll go through each one of them in a bit more detail. First one is the functions. A function is a set of code that is bound together to perform a specific task. The main idea behind the function is to reduce the redundancy in the code. Suppose you have a functionality that needs to be performed multiple times in a program. So, instead of writing it a multiple times, you can create a function for that task and call it as many times you want. Another hidden benefit is if the logic of your functionality changes afterwards, then you don't have to go ahead and change it at multiple places. You just have to change the code at one place, that is the function, and it would be reflected throughout the program. The next important one is the loops. Loops allows us to execute a group of statements several times. Suppose you are a software developer and you are required to provide a software module for your employees in your office. So, you must print the details of the payroll of each employee separately. Printing the details of all the employees will be tiresome task. Instead, you can use the logic for calculating the details and keep on iterating the same logic statement. This will save you time and make your code efficient. Followed by loops, we have conditional statements. Statements such as if, else, else if, etc. are called as conditional statements. They execute according to the given condition being evaluated to true or false. Followed by conditional statements, we have data structures and algorithms. Data structures help in the organization of data. Algorithms help find solutions to the unending data analysis problems. The knowledge of data structures and algorithms form the base to identify good programmers. So make sure you're well versed with them. So, having this brief idea on where to focus, we will now advance into our next level and understand our Python modules. So, our first question: what are Python modules? Modules are simply a program logic or a Python script that can be used for a variety of applications or functions. We can declare functions, classes, etc. in a module. The focus is to break down the code into different modules so that there will be no or minimum dependencies on each other. Using modules in a code helps to write fewer lines of code, a single procedure developed for reuse of the code as well. It also eliminates the need to write the same logic again and again. One more advantage of using modules is that the programs can be designed easily since a whole team works only on a part of the module for the entire code. Let's try to understand this with an example. Suppose you want to make a program for a calculator. There will be operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, etc. We will break the code into separate parts. We can simply create one module for all these operations or separate modules for each one of the operation. And then we can call these modules in our main program logic. The idea is to minimize the code. And if we create modules, it doesn't mean we can only use it for this program. We can even call these modules for another program as well. So with this, we will move ahead into our next topic, that is the inputs and outputs in Python. Input and output can be performed in many ways. Input can be given using input function that accepts a string of elements. You can also make use of functions like set function, the list function, etc. that takes inputs accordingly. In the case of outputs, you can make use of print function, which is the standard function used to print the output to the console. You can make use of expressions or write function. The write function will write the output to a file, followed by the inputs and outputs in Python. We now have errors and exceptions. So what exactly is an exception? An exception is an error that happens during the execution of a program. Whenever there is an error, Python generates an exception that could be handled. It basically prevents the program from getting crashed. So why use exception? Many a time, there are valid as well as invalid exceptions. Exceptions are convenient in many ways for handling errors and special conditions in a program. When you think that you have a code which can produce an error, you can use an exception handling technique. Now, with this, we shall move ahead and understand raising exceptions in Python. You can raise an exception in your program by using the raise exception statement. Raising an exception breaks current code execution and returns to the exception back until it is handled. We shall also look into some of the most common exceptions in Python. Some of the most common exceptions in Python are input-output error. This exception is popped up if the file cannot be opened. The next one is the import error. If Python cannot find a module, this particular exception is thrown. Next one is the value error. This exception is raised when the user hits the interrupt key, normally the Ctrl plus C or delete. The next one is end of the file error. This particular exception is raised when one of the inbuilt functions, such as input or raw input method, hits the end of the file condition without reading any data. Moving further, we have the object-oriented programming in Python. Python is an object-oriented programming language, and therefore, it is very important for you all to understand the object-oriented concepts in order to use Python efficiently. It includes classes and objects, polymorphism, encapsulation, inheritance, and data abstraction. So we will understand each one of these. So first of all, the objects. An object is a real-world entity such as a pen, book, person, animal, etc. that has a state and some behavior. In Python, everything such as variables, functions, etc. are considered to be an object. The next one is class. A class is a collection of objects, or you can say it as a blueprint of objects defining the common attributes and behavior. Followed by that, we have inheritance. The method of inheriting the properties of parent class into the child class is known as inheritance. It is one of the most important object-oriented programming concepts. Followed by inheritance, we have polymorphism. Polymorphism is taken from a Greek word which says poly means many and morphism means forms. It means that the same function name can be used for different types. This makes programming more intuitive and easier. Next, after polymorphism, we have encapsulation. Encapsulation deals with bringing up the data together with the code that is being used to work on that data. This is not just making our code clear, but also helps in preventing data from being modified as it restricts its access. Followed by encapsulation, we have the abstraction. Abstraction basically means to show the necessary data and hide the implementation details. This not just increases the efficiency of the code, but also reduces its complexity. Now we face the Python libraries. Python is an ocean of libraries that serve various purposes, and as a Python developer, you must have a sound knowledge of the best ones. Some of the most important Python libraries for machine learning are TensorFlow, Skitlearn, NumPy, Keras, PyTorch, Pandas, etc. Web development libraries such as Django, Flask, etc. are also equally popular. When it comes to data visualization, libraries such as Matplotlib, Seaborn, etc. can be used. Not just that, there are various other libraries that can be used for various fields, such as game development, XML parsing, etc. Now that we have a briefing about the important libraries in Python, we shall now wind up our session by going through the last topic of today's session, which is implementation of Python using projects. The next and the most important step you must do is create projects. When you create a project, you will have 360-degree learning. This is because when you create a project, you will have to do everything right from problem analysis to testing. You will make use of all programming concepts, paradigms, data structures, algorithms, etc. You do not have to master the world in your first project itself. So, start off by choosing a very simple project. Complete it by yourself and try your best not to copy paste anything from elsewhere. As you proceed, you can take up bigger projects and work on them. It is sure that you will face difficulties while making projects, but it comes with a reward of learning. If you're stuck at some point in the project, try to break down the problem into minor parts and then work on each part one at a time. This brings to the end of this session. If you have any queries regarding this session, then please feel free to write us down in the comment section below. Till then, thank you all and wish you all a very happy learning.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!